22 teams, a month of games, and some of the world's most high-profile athletes based right here in Aotearoa. Honestly, we don't know what's going to hit us when the FIFA Women's Football World Cup lands here in July 2023. Kia ora Aotearoa, I'm Zoe George, and this is the Podium Summer Series, sports news but not as you know it from Stuff. To help us get a handle on just how big this is going to be, Stuff sports reporter and good friend of the Podium podcast, Phil Rollo. Hi, Phil.
Hey, Zoe. How's it going?
Not too bad. Are New Zealanders ready for the Football World Cup to arrive on our doorstep?
It's funny, we've just watched the Men's World Cup finish, and the next FIFA World Cup's going to be coming to New Zealand, and I guess we saw how big that tournament was in Qatar, and it is something that people will say about the Women's World Cup in New Zealand. New Zealanders won't know what is coming because it's going to be such a massive event, much bigger than any other World Cup, including the men's rugby and cricket World Cups that we've had before. I think one thing that's going to be really different about this World Cup is how many fans are going to be travelling over here, and that's something that, say, with the Women's Rugby World Cup didn't quite experience. So it's going to be crazy. I've seen footage of the last one in 2019, and there are like 10,000 fans from different countries sort of marching the streets before the games and stuff. And that's just something we haven't seen in New Zealand for any sport, really.
Yeah, well, rugby's our game, right? And the Rugby World Cup in 2022 was amazing, but this is an entirely different level. The Women's Football World Cup is the second largest global sports event behind the men. It's bigger than the Olympics.
Yeah, it's massive. And one thing that's quite interesting with this is this is a global game. All these players will be professional players. So with the Rugby World Cup, a lot of the players spoke about how they were still amateur and weren't professional. These players are playing in Europe and North America for massive clubs. A lot of them are massive names as well. Some of the stars on the US team, they've got more social media followers than the All Blacks. And it's going to be awesome to have it here, to think, we've had the Women's Cricket World Cup, the Women's Rugby World Cup, and now there's a third one with the football, and it's going to be the biggest one of the lot. Yeah,
you mentioned the USA. They are the superstars and current reigning champions, but who else should we keep an eye on?
Yeah, so the US is the obvious one, and especially for us in New Zealand, because they're going to be based here, which is a huge score for us. They're going to be playing 2 games in Auckland and one in Wellington. And I'd say, another team to look out for would be Spain. They've got the best player in the world, Alexia Putellas. She's currently out with a long-term injury, but should make it back for July. She plays for Barcelona, which is easily the best club team in the world. In fact, a lot of the Spain team is Barcelona players, so that's another pretty exciting one. England will be a team to watch and will be one of the favourites. Obviously, they had the amazing run to win the Euros. They're going to be based over in Australia, so we won't see them here in New Zealand. But they definitely will be sort of a team to watch. And same with Canada, who are the Olympic champions and are coached by Bev Priestman, who actually used to work for New Zealand football, which is pretty cool.
Well, there you go. It's quite incredible when you think about the numbers as well. The last Women's Football World Cup in 2019, they had more than 1 billion viewers worldwide. I mean, 1 billion eyes on New Zealand. That's quite incredible.
Oh, it's insane. And it's even, it is kind of a bit hard to comprehend how big this tournament is going to be. And like I say, with, fans marching the streets and just what the scene's going to be like before some of these games, it's just something that we wouldn't have ever seen with any sort of sport before. And like some of those other World Cups where there might have been some travelling fans, or there might have been family and stuff. There's going to be thousands of people descending on the country, and I guess it's probably like when the Men's Rugby World Cup was on. I remember being in Nelson, and there were street parades for the teams that we were hosting, and it felt like there was sort of this World Cup fever that swept through the country, and this is going to be even bigger than that, which is going to be awesome. Like, we just don't get that much big sport in New Zealand. And I can't wait, to be honest.
You're so excited, you're lost for words. Now, some of the teams, we've got a whole bunch of teams based throughout New Zealand, so it would be great to see cities adopt them, right?
Yeah, totally. And Yeah, there's even going to be some teams which are based in locations that don't have games, and I've seen some of those places say, like, let's get behind that team as our sort of second team. Obviously, New Zealand is going to be involved as one of the co-hosts, but I guess the difference there is New Zealand, unlike the Rugby World Cup and the Cricket World Cup, New Zealand's not expected. They won't win this tournament. They aren't one of the contenders really. So having another team to support that hopefully will make a run deep into the tournament, maybe go all the way to the final. I'm sure it's quite easy for people to say, this team's in our town. This is the team I'm going to get to see the most. That's the team I'll get to sort of follow and hope they go all the way.
Yeah, let's talk about the football. Ferns, you said they don't really have a chance. What's our pool looking like?
Yeah, well, the unique thing about hosting a World Cup is you get to be one of the top seeds when they do the draw. So by the World Cup being in New Zealand, the Football Ferns will never have a better chance or a better draw than they have for this tournament. So they play Norway, the Philippines, and Switzerland. The Philippines are the only team of those that are ranked below the Football Ferns, and it's a team the Football Ferns beat in this year in September. So, yeah, I think the Football Ferns have never won a game at a World Cup, but they'll definitely be targeting that game against the Philippines as their first ever World Cup win. And if they can win that game, then they play Switzerland, possibly needing a win or maybe even a draw will be enough to get through to the knockout stage, something they've never done before. So Norway is the tougher team in the group, but as I say, because the Football Ferns were a top seed as hosts, it means they didn't have to face someone like the USA, one of the big guns. So they've got a pretty favourable draw, but in saying that, as we speak, the Football Ferns are ranked 24th in the world, which is their equal lowest, and just winning a game or trying to get out of the group is basically that's kind of the best case scenario for them, I think.
They've got a bit of a run-up, though. We're playing USA very soon, which is exciting. And then we've got some more games as well, don't we?
Yeah, the Football Ferns have got a whole host of games, and that was the same in 2022. Because they're co-hosts, New Zealand Football have just given them the best possible preparation by organising as many games as possible every international window they've been playing. To decide the last three qualifiers for the World Cup, there's going to be sort of a 10-team playoff tournament held in Hamilton and in Auckland in February, and the Football Ferns are going to be involved playing some friendly games as part of that as well. So they're going to be playing one game against Portugal and a couple of games against Argentina, and then they'll have some more games later in the year in the lead up to the World Cup. So in terms of preparation, couldn't have been any better. I think the only thing I'd say is the Football Ferns have been playing some really hard teams, including the games against the USA. And I think if they are trying to just win a game in a World Cup against a team that's ranked below them, I think they need to be playing teams that are a bit weaker than the ones they're playing at the moment, because they're kind of just playing these really tough teams and losing, and it's not really giving them any sort of momentum or building any sort of confidence, and goal scoring is a bit of an issue. So if they were playing teams that were ranked in and around them or below them, they might start getting some wins and really sort of hit the World Cup with a bit of confidence, especially heading into that game against the Philippines.
And I mean, how good will this exposure be for some of the Kiwi players who may not have been exposed to the global stage before?
Oh yeah, it'll definitely be massive for some of the young players. And traditionally at the World Cup, the Football Ferns have always taken some teenagers, I think as young as like 15 or 16 in previous tournaments. So it's going to be pretty awesome for them. There's going to be some players in the Wellington Phoenix team that will be pushing for selection, but also for the veteran players in the Football Ferns. There are a lot of players in the team who have played over 100 games for New Zealand before, and this is basically going to be a way to cap their career by having a World Cup at home. I think, at the end of the World Cup, we'll probably see a whole host of retirements, and I think it'll be sort of a bit of a transition phase for the Football Ferns after that. But I just think of players like Rhea Percival, who have played for New Zealand for over a decade. People like Annalie Longo. What a way to sort of finish their careers by having a World Cup in front of their friends and family. And the Football Ferns don't play in New Zealand very often either, so to bring the world home, it's going to be pretty awesome moment for them, I'd say.
Phil Rollo, it's always a pleasure to have you on the podium, and thank you so much for all your mahi in 2022 and coming on the podcast. We really appreciate it. And that's it for this bonus summer episode of The Podium. I'm Zoe George, and on behalf of our guests this week, producer Jono Williams, Philippa Tolley, and audio editor Connor Scott, thanks for listening. You can get in touch with us via email, thepodium@stuff.co.nz, and make sure you like and follow us wherever you get your podcast from so you never miss an episode. Until next time, ngā mihi, go well.
And these fighter pilots, they're testifying because they have actually said that they've seen UFOs.
Yeah, so one of them says they saw one in 2004, but then the other one says he has seen a UFO every day for the last couple of years.
He was drinking this strange liquid out of a drink bottle that he said came from a cactus.
Every day. The hearing was kind of frustrating and a bit weird, and this is where it gets a little bit like, that's what's going on, because sometimes...
this is where it gets like that, is it? For everything that's worth talking about, find and follow Newsable wherever you get your podcasts.
Newsable, brought to you by BNZ.